So yeah, wanted to basically learn more about you, learn more about your background. I know we chatted before, but have a couple more questions to really talk about your career, your composition process. So I guess let's just start from the beginning for you as a musician and composer. And can you tell me about how you first got into composing?
Yeah, always been into music. And I want to say it was, well, at this point, probably 10, 15 years ago. A friend was working on a project, I think it was for BET, and just asked for some like background music, and I did it. It worked out. Before that, I did a little bit of like sync placements on like TV shows, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians and things, but I never really knew much about it until I started studying it last year. And then also over the years, starting about 10 years ago, I was also doing music for museum exhibits. I sort of fell into that just through National Geographic, and then that led to doing some things for Smithsonian. And that was actually a pretty good deal until the pandemic and museums shut down. um, but yeah, there was a good run of doing music there. And then behind the scenes playing as a piano player and keyboardist in church, also before the pandemic, for almost 30 years. So just bringing all those musical influences into like the composing space, and started studying orchestration and investing in getting a lot of like string and orchestral libraries. Started from like the ground level of like finding free libraries, and then really cheap ones, and then building up to more higher end, and then everything in between.
Awesome. Awesome. And curious to know who your musical influences are. Like, do you have any sort of favorite composers, musicians, or even just favorite film scores that, you kind of reference as being like influential in your career?
Oh yeah, the obvious, like, I don't know if you want to call them like Mount Rushmore, but as far as composers, Hans Zimmer, John Williams. Then like I would say newer age like Pinar, Toprak, Ludwig Göransson. I like Clint Mansell. There's just a lot, and then just because I am black, so I like some of the black composers like Terrence Blanchard, Chris Bowers. So a lot of them that I listen to the soundtracks, I follow their music, I get inspired by them. I'm also doing trailer music now, so there's a lot of trailer music composers. It's just not big names that so because they're just doing trailers, but I follow a lot of them and part of a lot of groups online. And then on the production side, because I'm in Virginia, Timbaland, Pharrell, Neptunes, Missy Elliott, like their sound, Teddy Riley, producer named Bink, producer named Knots Raw, and like the funk stuff, like Parliament and go-go music. So being close to DC, so it's like all these musical influences. And then also my dad is Jamaican, so it's like the Jamaica dance hall reggae. So all that sort of seeps into the music.
That's awesome. I would love to pick your brain a little bit more on all the different styles that you do for composing. So you mentioned like music for museums, music for trailer music. Like it seems like you've got your fingers on a lot of different areas. How did you get into each of those kind of styles? Was it just opportunities that came your way, or did you seek them out? I'm just curious how you could go from composing for a museum to trailer music, to media.
I think a lot of it is I enter a lot of contests. So in 2020, I probably entered 200 music contests, and it would be anything from sample this old like 1980s record and make music out of it. It could be anything from here's a picture, compose music for this picture, or here's a video, make music for this video. It could be remix this song. We have these vocal files and make your own music around it. So leading up to the pandemic, I wasn't really focused on creating music because I played in church, and that took up a lot of time learning songs by like other artists to learn with the choir and then perform with, the band on Sundays and things at church. So a lot of time was taken up with that. When the pandemic hit and they, went virtual and sort of got rid of the musicians, I started focusing on those different aspects because at the time I really didn't know what was my thing. And to an extent, I still don't know because I feel like I can do them all pretty good. So I just started last year. I got into sync heavily. And then towards the end of last year, I started studying trailer music, and I just watched a lot of trailers, listened to a lot of trailer albums, and then put out my own trailer music album around Thanksgiving, and got feedback. So I put it out just to get feedback from composers, from trailer music libraries and things like that. Say, hey, you're almost there or whatever, like do this, do this. Put out another trailer music album around Christmas, got some more feedback, and then felt like I was getting, to the place I need to get, and then started aligning with trailer music companies to now like pitching to trailers. So a lot of it is just putting stuff out there on social media, putting stuff out on distributing music to Apple, Tidal, all the big players, then posting about it like, hey, I got this album. I have concept albums for artists. So it's so many things because I don't know what's going to be the thing that makes it through. So I figure if I have 1,000 things out there, one of them, is going to take off. And hopefully not all 1,000 because I can't do all 1,000 at once, but you never know. So really right now, I'm just in the content creation space, and that has afforded some great opportunities that I look forward to hopefully taking advantage of.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. On that note, what are some of your career goals as a musician, as a composer? Like, what do you ultimately hope to achieve as a working composer?
I would say the ultimate is for me being able to, so I do work a full-time, like 9 to 5 job, like corporate, but the ultimate is to be able to work from home, to be able to make music full-time from home or from wherever. It doesn't have to be home. Like if my wife says, hey, let's go to, wherever for a week, I can still take my laptop, maybe a small keyboard or whatever, and still be able to make music out there and not really have to focus on a 9 to 5 corporate. I always say I'd rather work 12 hours making music than 8 hours in a corporate job, because that's where the passion is making music. So that's the ultimate goal, to be able to take care of family through music, whether that's through like the trailers, sync, working with artists, or a combination of all the above.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm with you there. I know you've done a lot in your career. You said, you're kind of putting a lot of content out there, putting a lot of music out there. Is there anything that you've done, or maybe top 1, 2, 3 things that you've created that you're most proud of as a composer?
There are things that I don't know if I'm most proud of any of them, but there are things that have created opportunities and connections, such as a couple of years ago, I started doing piano remixes of songs. So I would like pop songs or top whatever 40 songs on the radio, and I would take the instruments off, keep the vocals, and then just do a piano like cover remix with the original vocals. And that allowed some connections with some great artists and producers and songwriters and things like that. And then doing the concept albums for artists, which is basically like usually 5 to 7 tracks for an artist that I want to work with. And I just put it out, on social media or whatever, DistroKid, and share it with the world. And then I send it to the artists and their team. That's allowed some connections to some great artists. Really traveling this year has been really big on networking and going out there. So NAMM, of course, getting face to face with people and making those connections in person, which I think is needed and it's missed in a lot of ways because of the pandemic. So I think people are ready to get back out there at some point. But it was great to at least be out there then and meeting these companies, seeing these people and playing on instruments and things.
Awesome. Yeah, and I remember our previous conversation too. You were talking about you wrote a song for an artist and then sent it to her via Instagram, and that kind of blew up. Could you talk maybe more about that? Because I remember that being sort of an interesting story that you shared.
So there's an artist who put usually on like Instagram. Usually I see it on Instagram. If artists say something like "Ask me anything," or even like yesterday, I found a new artist, liked the music they had, and just sent them a DM. How can I send you beats? And then they sent the email, and I sent them some music. So really, it's just sometimes it's just that simple. You see an artist, maybe not like Beyonce, but the next Beyonce. You say, "Hey, I like your music, but listen to your stuff." Or even if you don't listen to their stuff, just like, "Hey, I saw this post, I really enjoyed it. Where can I send you beats?" In that case, it was that big artist over in Europe. The song isn't out yet, so I'm not going to say who or what. When it comes out, it actually started a great musical relationship where I think now I have probably 50 or 60 ideas for that artist in particular. She's probably written to 10 of them. So building a catalog there, and then whenever her team or whatever is ready to put it out, hopefully that gets put out. But it's all just from, going on Instagram and saying, "Hey, how can I send you beats? Where can I send you music? Are you looking for producers?" Things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm curious to learn about your composing process. I know every kind of project's different, but do you have a general sort of way you go about creating the music, composing for, say, an artist or a trailer music or museum music? Is there any sort of common like process that you follow across all those different sort of media outlets?
Well, first I sit down and open the computer, open up Logic. I pretty much, yeah, I'm a template guy. I know some people are, opposed to templates, but I'm always changing them like literally almost every day. But I have a template for beat making. I have a template for trailer music. I have a template for like composing. And then if I'm working on a project, I did an independent film earlier this year, and I landed that from another project that I put out online on Valentine's Day. And when I talked to the film director producer, he just told me like what he wanted, and I created like a template just for that film of like he just really wanted to focus on like the dramatic side of things, more like piano string type. So I just created a template for that project. So usually if I'm working on a project, I'll create a template for it. Otherwise, I have pre-made templates for those things: composing, sync, beat making. I have a template for making pop music, and then sometimes I just open it up, nothing loaded, and just start from scratch and see what happens if I have like time to be in a fully creative space.
Hmm. Yeah, I find that that's like at times, when you have like a blank canvas, it's like, okay, you have an idea, you latch onto it, and you can crank something out. And then for me, at times, it's just like, okay, I need to start with drums and then go from there and build that foundation. So it's interesting how everybody approaches each composition a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Awesome. A few more questions for you just about your background, but I'm curious, given your career and a lot of the stuff that you're doing, is there something that stands out to you as being unique to yourself and your music and the way that you compose music for all the different media outlets that we talked about?
I think coming from like more of a like church background, playing, every Sunday with some of the best musicians that I've heard like live, and some of the best singers, come from the church side of things. And that was over 25 years of like almost every Sunday doing that and just absorbing those sounds. And there would be musicians who would show me something every week and be like, go what's this, or go, buy this music and listen to it. So there would be things that I would learn that sort of creeps into the other stuff, like the pop, the composing. And then, like I said, all the other musical influences, the reggae, dancehall, Jamaica stuff, the pop influences, the being in DC, the whole just Virginia producer, being inspired by that whole sound. I try to incorporate that into my music, and that comes through. But just having that background of all those different musical influences sort of makes me unique. And then some people tell me that I create fast. I don't know if that's a good thing. Can be good and can be bad, but I tend to create quickly when possible. Yeah, I tend not to edit while composing. At NAMM, I went to the Spitfire audio booth and in about 10 minutes created like a 30-second, 1 minute piece. I posted it on Instagram and shared it with like the Spitfire audio team, and they were like, "You're fast." And I was like, yeah, it's what I do, what I want to do. But yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
Right, right. Awesome. I guess my last question is, what upcoming projects are you working on now that you're excited about, that you'd like to share?
Finished a lot of projects. I tried to finish a lot before NAMM. One being the independent film that's I think's been placed in a couple of film festivals. So they're doing the film festival sort of circuit. There are trailer. I did one. I was up till about 3 or 4 this morning working on a trailer. So I have a couple more trailer requests in my inbox. Going to travel again next month, for networking / vacation out west again. So looking forward to that. No set sort of projects. I might have just landed a good deal to produce a great artist from networking from another connection that I had. So hopefully that'll be something and that I can work on over the next few months. But just really trying to work on a lot of music, putting it out there, and hopefully something will come back. And then sync, pitching to a lot of sync stuff, music for television, movies, video games, things like that. Keep putting yourself out there, whatever it is. do the work and then put it out there. Because if you do the work and no one sees it, it doesn't mean anything. But you got to do the work and then put it out there. And for me, the work is already making music for an artist or already making music for a project. Even if it doesn't land on that project, there may be a similar project in the works. There may be a sequel, a prequel. You never know. Or there may be someone who was inspired by that project to make a similar project, and the music you already created can work on that. So there's no one way to sort of break through, get in, get opportunities. It's just putting your stuff out there and then letting people know what you do. Because if they don't know what you do, then they can't work with you to get you to do that. So put yourself out there
Right.
and see what happens.
Yeah, great advice. As my father always said, like great things come out of left field. So it's got to be open to everything.
Exactly.
Why do you think it's so hard to find paying gigs frequently? From your own opinion, like why do you think it's hard?
I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there, just finding how to get to those opportunities. And then if someone works on a film, this month, that might be the only thing they do for the next 2 years. That might be their thing that they, travel with or whatever, or do the whole. So you got to find like 10 of those to get like a year's worth of work together, unless you're, already, up there with some of the composers I mentioned earlier. So a lot of it is finding those opportunities that not necessarily paying financially, but that could be, finding a new filmmaker who's working on a film, and, maybe you do a good deal with them, and then, a couple of years later, they're working on another film, and, next thing you know, they're doing, video games or whatever, or Disney or Hulu or whatever type of film. So just finding those creative people, and there are great outlets for it. And then also in the sync space, which is a little less, I would say, friction than the composing, finding those opportunities to land music on like the TV shows and movies and things. I think the big thing is just putting stuff out there. And if you can't physically go to places, the next best thing is social media. And unfortunately, not everyone is comfortable with sharing to that level of social media. So if you can't personally do that, then maybe work with someone who can like be your social media marketer, or someone that can, you can give them the reins to your account or whatever, and they can do that. Right now, that's the best way, just because of the pandemic. So there are some great opportunities to go places in person, but there's also a barrier there, because you got to get a flight, a hotel, you got to pay for food for a week or a weekend or whatever, or you got to, if you're not flying, you got to drive somewhere or somehow get to the place. So even a lot of those conferences, even NAMM, they had a virtual component where you could stream some of the presentations. It is different, but still it's accessible. So there are those options. But the biggest is really, really just putting yourself out there and, hoping for the best. But it's also something might not come from it. So it's not guaranteed. So it's a gamble.
Got it. Yeah. And like the frequency of kind of like finding paying gigs or opportunities that could lead to the next, thing that could help your career. Curious how frequently you go about kind of go on the search for finding the next thing. Like, is it a constant, like daily sort of, hey, like I'm always looking out for something that could be of interest to me from a composing standpoint? Or is it more like, hey, I did this project that took up all my time. Now I'm onto this project and it was a month or a year? Or curious, like what that frequency is as far as trying to find those paying opportunities.
Some weeks it's daily, and then really the last 2 weeks, because of like NAMM, didn't really do it as much, at least on the virtual side. I might have done it in person, but pretty much daily. Like I might say, hey, let me see what shows up on my timeline, and then reach out. Or I might read an article and find out some companies or artists and reach out to them and say, hey, are you looking for producers or composers for any projects? It might be some IMDb research. So it could be a combination of things to sort of get the ball rolling. And then at some point, because I'm starting to see a little bit now, where instead of me going out searching for work, the work is sort of coming my way. So it's like, hey, we need music for these trailers. If you want to work on something, hey, we're working with this artist, they want some tracks. So I'm starting to see that actually shift in that direction, slowly but surely.
And those are other companies that like know you, reach out to you and say, and are now saying, hey, this is a project that we think would be a good fit for you. I'm just curious, like what other companies or, folks you're working with for that particular instance.
I can't name them all, but there's a trailer music company that I connected with earlier this year, and they send out trailer opportunities. There's one called Hard Drive, HRDRV, which
Right.
it's basically like a subscription record label where you pay a monthly subscription and you have access to. There's 3,000 members: artists, singers, songwriters, producers, video like filmmakers, graphic designers, and then they also have a side of their company that's called Catalog Club, where you can land placements on TV shows, video games, movies, things like that. So working with companies like that focus on the sync side of things, and then reaching out to artists directly on social media. Or if I want to work with an artist, let's say I want to work with Drake, I create an album for Drake and I put it out there, which is what I did. I have about 7 of those for different artists that I want to work with. And my producer name is DeFingers, so I put out this series called DeFingers Beats for. So I have DeFingers Beats for Drake, and I have DeFingers Beats for Usher, DeFingers Beats for like Rick Ross, Shinsia. I have about 7 or 8. And as I might sit down one week and say, okay, I want to make music for this artist because they're, I've always wanted to work with them, or they're big right now, or I think I can do something with my sound and their voice. And then I just make the project for them. And most of the time, of course, they're not going to hear it, but it could be this person. There's another artist out there who's inspired by Drake and they think they're the next Drake. So it's like, okay, well, if you're the next Drake, I have, all these ideas for Drake, but since you're the next Drake, here you go. Really, it's just putting out, for me, much of the last 2 years specifically has been putting out content. And now it's really working that content to showcase to people what I do, and putting them in places where people can access them and be like, okay, you have this range of music creation that you can do, or things like that. So a lot of it's content creation, and then content marketing, and then networking.
Yeah. And then I know the other thing too, just kind of lastly, was, the negotiations and finding the right price. And that's a bit of a pain point. We talked about this a bit too earlier, but just, I guess, maybe refresh my memory. Why do you think that price negotiation for like music that you're composing for a project is so difficult?
I think because the perceived value of some people, they can access music literally for free, like on YouTube or SoundCloud and things. So some people are like, why do I need to pay for this? So it's getting harder really for, I see all the sort of horror stories for music creators to focus on the music when they're like, okay, how am I going to make living off of this? And of course, there are people that are doing it once they get to that level. And it's almost like, why, knowing all the horror stories, because there's way more horror stories than there are success stories, why even bother going into that lane? Why do you feel like you're the one to break through or make it happen?
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, it just feels like, through the connections, I just feel like there's a gut feeling that something will happen, and whether it's landing a spot on a TV show, composing, or working with artists, and that's sort of the way in. But because there's so much opportunity, and I feel like I can take advantage of a lot of them, maybe at different times, obviously, but it just feels like something soon is going to like come through and be that thing that way in, at least for me.
Yeah.
So I think there's just people that think the value of the music is low, but the people that I'm trying to reach out to and connect with are more at a different level, where they understand the value of music for their projects. Or if they're an artist, they might work out a deal where it's like, hey, we'll give you production and songwriting. The independent film I worked on, because it didn't have a lot of budget, they gave me a film production credit. So that's my first credit as a film producer, as a way to sort of offset the composing budget, which is great. It's like my first credit on IMDb for film production. So I can now say I'm a film producer. So I think there's other ways to think about compensation. So even if it's not money, if it's like, hey, I'll work on this project if if you're a filmmaker, I'll work on this project if you help me edit 3 or 4 reels of my music. It's almost like the barter system. Or if you're a graphic designer, I'll work on your project if you design some graphics for my next album or my next project, or whatever. There's ways where everything doesn't always have to be like cash money.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah. Curious to like with these projects, it seems like the budget kind of just varies widely, right? I would guess I'd love to learn more about. So do you like kind of have a balance between sort of doing things that are not free, but like you get a credit, like you were saying, versus like something that's maybe like, a high paying like project? Like it seems like you kind of toggle between a lot of the like those different, I guess, opportunities. I'm curious how you go about evaluating what is the right fit, whether if it's like a barter system type transaction versus like a cash transaction. Like how do you evaluate what's right for you as far as compensation goes?
A lot of it is, well, it depends on a lot of things like project itself, the people working on it, the deadline. A
Hmm.
lot of it is, before I even get to the price, it's like, do I really want to work on it? There are some things I take into consideration, like if it's $1 million project, which obviously I haven't landed yet, I might think about it a little bit longer. But I saw a comment, he was on Facebook, where someone said there are 3 reasons that people work on a project, and it's because you want to work on the project, or you want to work with the people, or you need the money. And if you can have a project that aligns with all 3 of those, then it's a definite go for it. If
Yeah.
it's like 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3, you might want to consider, but if it hits all 3 of those, then you're good to go. So I sort of take that into consideration. Do I want to work on the project? Do I want to work with the people? And then do I need the money? In some cases, you don't know what you don't know. So earlier this year, I started saying yes to almost every project that came my way, just because I don't know, like, try to get an idea of what I like doing, what I don't like doing. So
Hmm.
literally the first half of the year, if someone's like, "Hey, can you work on this for me? Can you help me with this thing?" I pretty much said yes, and now I have an idea of like what I do and don't like, or the what timelines I do and don't like working with, or what I
Hmm.
can do within certain timelines and limitations. So that's a good way to sort of gauge, what you like and don't like. If you don't know, it's like, hey, if things come your way, just say yes for a couple months, 6 months. Some people say yes for a whole year to everything, just to see what happens. It's definitely a lot of work, a lot of, for me, just a lot of like sleepless nights until I can get to that point where I can do that full time and end up getting sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely doing a lot for sure. That's awesome. Thank you.
I do appreciate it.
Well, have a great rest of your day. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks so much,
All right.
Marcus.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.